Hello, everybody. Welcome back to What Culture Wrestling. I am, of course, Gareth here in a lovely, well, it's quite cloudy where I am, quite cloudy afternoon. And I'm joined here by Andrew Pollard. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Very, very good. It's equally kind of cloudy and a little bit grey and just a smidge wet, I guess, here in obviously ever tropical Wales, where I am.
Woo, we love it.
Yeah,
I'm half
go
Welsh,
Wales.
so we love that. It's a very good back to Wales. I love that. So we've got some news to tell you about right now. So we're going to run through our stories. We've got a good fair few to get through, so we'll jump straight in. First thing we want to talk about is WWE are apparently, reportedly, willing to grant releases to just about anyone. That's what we're hearing. WrestleVotes have noted this recently. I think today they've mentioned through a number of sources that basically if a talent wants out, they can go. So there's a lot of talents that we've said that really at this time, when you look through that WWE roster, a lot of people that you feel like could be better utilized maybe in other places, other companies, and we've sensed a bit of, a bit of angst, a bit of unsettling like in the company really all together with a lot of the talent. So it now appears that if anybody fancies a jump somewhere else, the door's open. What do we think of that?
Yeah, I think the timing of it's a little bit the fact that you think that any other time of the year there would be certain top level talents who might be thinking this is a really cool move, whereas now the reality is there's nowhere to go right now because the industry's effectively on hold. So it's that swings and roundabouts. If you're, I don't know, say Randy Orton, he's the one that jumps out because we heard those rumors, whether it was just speculation merely to get a better contract, but there was the talks of him maybe eyeing up AEW a few months ago. But if you're Randy Orton now, you to be honest, if you're Randy, you could think that, well, I can afford to take this hit for now. I can afford to see out these next few months with no income, and then I can go wherever I want. If that would be AEW or I don't know, NWA Randy Orton, that'd be cool with that.
Wow,
Very cool.
That would be
yes,
good. It's one of those things you're saying, it's banking on yourself to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of talents in there that probably could, but you wouldn't necessarily expect it. Like Orton is probably one of those that you think he's got such a cushy job there for life. Couldn't really see it happening. But then somebody like your Ricochets and some people like that who are not really being utilised in the way they could be right now, they'd be tempted to think, I could bank on myself a bit here. But right now it's that uncertain nature of they don't know when they're going to be able to jump into another company. It's such an odd move, like you said. So that's
I think it's probably more appealing to those who've got that kind of financial security as well. They've got a bit of money in the bank, and so it's going to be a risky move for a lot of people if they do take that. But like I said, I think Ricochet would be a prime example of somebody who you think, God, when and if things get back to some sense of normalcy, then that's a big get for someone like AEW, and that's a big get for Ricochet to get to AEW, or someone like Cedric. There's because we've talked for months, years that WWE have been stockpiling all this talent, which is partly why they had to do the Black Wednesdays. It's now become known as with all the releases. So there is so much talent there that could be better utilized in other companies, and you're just thinking who's got who's willing to take that risk on themselves.
Exactly. But I hear that you're about to tell us about another star who was reportedly released, so it might not be as clear as what it first appeared.
Yeah, Gerald Brisco, Hall of Famer Gerald Brisco, one of the all-time greats, Gerald Brisco, who in the last 20 years he's been working as a backstage producer. He did have his spells as an in-ring personality, famously with Pat Patterson back in the day. Tried to eradicate a lot of those memories, but the Stooges, there was moments there where it was entertaining, but I didn't need to see any matches and definitely no frocks. But there was news I think earlier this morning or earlier in the week where Patterson was said to be one of those. Brisco was said to be one of those. Pat's come back to get let go again. Gerald Brisco was supposedly another name who'd been released, but now we're hearing tonight that it's not so much a release, and that Briscoe's one of those who's been furloughed, which means he'll be essentially retained by the company, but he's not expected to work, and he'll be getting a percentage of his salary anyway. I'm not sure exactly the specifics how it works in the States with the furlough scheme. Here in the UK, it's 80% up to I think £2,500 a month, which I'd imagine Briscoe's on probably more than that. But yeah, I think with him, if you're looking at producers or just personnel really who are strong candidates to be given furlough or to even be released. You've got this guy who is 73 years old, who's not been in the greatest of health in the last few years. So you're thinking it's a global pandemic. You're trying to restrict people from traveling. You're trying to look after people of a certain age bracket. You're trying to look after people with existing health conditions. So yeah, Gerald Brisco to me it's a sensible move for all involved. And to me, I'm looking at thinking, surely do this with Jerry Lawler, because like you've got Lawler at 70 being flown out for commentary. Weeks and weeks on end.
It does ramp up those questions now of everyone in that company who is over a certain age. I mean, Vince included, which is a bit odd. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many people in that company right now that are massively at risk from this continual live production that they're putting on during the current situation. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a good thing that it seems like that door is still open for him to come back. Hopefully people like, I don't know, Finlay, Lance Armstrong, all these brilliant, well, potentially brilliant, but already brilliant producers could also be on a similar thing. You hope that. You crossing your fingers for that.
Lance Armstrong. I'm liking that. Lance Armstrong.
No, I've done that. I've done that so many times. It's Lance Storm. I've done this. I literally have videos we've done where I've said Lance Armstrong and they've had to correct it. It's going to stay in now. So I'm just, there you go. I keep saying Lance Armstrong. So yeah, he's not coming back. But yeah, so hopefully, you never know, we might see some more producers come back once this current situation is in a bit more of a controllable state right now. So the next piece of news we're going to jump into, without mentioning any disgraced cyclists, is we're going to talk about another star who was released during that Black Wednesday big release day a couple of weeks ago now. No Way Jose has spoken to ITR. He had a big interview with them recently, and he mentioned that he once had 13 storylines that he pitched, and they were knocked back by WWE in the same week. So according to Jose, he said that WWE didn't even reply to any of his ideas to let them know if they were all right or like just bad, what was bad about them or anything like that. So he simply just assumed that they sucked or he had to try again. So it's one of them where at this point it does make you feel a lot of like, well, it starts to become a lot more understandable why so many of these stars have instantly not hit back, because it's not been quite the level of a Moxley or a Punk. They've done this massive big ranting podcast, but you're starting to it's becoming resonant. All these things that we've assumed over the years that stars have been held back and stars are not being allowed to express themselves, it's all coming to light a bit more now, day to day, that each star, like you likes of No Way, he said that he once pitched to become a groupie for Elias at one point. And eventually wanted to like annoy Elias to the point that they had a massive big feud, and that would have been quite interesting. They're both not doing anything of real note at this point. That would have been a great use of two stars, and they could have built each other up. And yeah, I'm not sure what the future holds for No Way Jose. What do you reckon?
I feel sorry for him, because he's one of those guys where, from all accounts and purposes, he didn't cause any fuss boys at the company. Same with Heath Slater. And the fact you've got these guys who are known as just nice guys, work hard, turn up, do whatever's asked of him, and now these guys are coming out and taking not so much digs, but they're letting out their frustrations. So it's maybe one thing if it was a Punk or if it was a Moxley who came out, who we know are full of piss and vinegar and they're ready to vent. But these guys are different to that. So if these guys, No Way Jose and Heath Slater as examples, are coming out and saying the problems they've got, then you know that there are issues there. And for the poor guys, like you said there, the Elias idea, you say that neither of those people were doing anything at that time. With No Way Jose, he's done nothing the whole time. He's not been used the whole time he's been on the main roster. And even in NXT, what did he do apart from dance, really? There was the conga line they gave him, there was the baseball pitch finishing move he had early on, and that was it. And I think the worst thing about this is the fact that he's gone to them with the ideas and he's not even had a reply. It's one thing to be told no, it's one thing to even be just, to your face saying, yeah, we'll take those into consideration, pal, and then get nothing. But to just have a nothing, that's kind of like the writing on the wall there for you straight away.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where I think there's been a weird, not weird, but probably an assumed narrative for quite some time that a lot of the current WWE roster just are quite happy to be in the positions they're in. They're not really pushing for anything higher than that. A lot of people always say, this current roster aren't as hungry as other rosters and everything else. They're not trying to be creative. This goes to show that this is a star that you probably would have dropped into that group of people. You think, they're just happy to be there. They were still pushing for something else, for something creative, just to have themselves on television. They still want to be there and want to be a commodity, but it just at that point it just seemed like WWE just didn't really have anything for them. We just didn't want to have anything for them. But there's another star I probably think could fall into that bracket to a certain extent.
Yes, big LG, Luke Gallows, the former Festus, should we say, who is he's not gone back to the Festus gimmick clearly, but he's registered a trademark today or earlier this week even for Sex Ferguson, which is a persona he used, back on the. Sex Ferguson he used back on the Indies, back in when he was kind of flittering between there and New Japan, was eventually kind of watered down in Southpaw Wrestling to, it was Tex Ferguson they called him at that point. But yeah, it's just Gallows. It's somebody that is now out of the shackles of WWE, is looking at what they can do next, and you're thinking, well, yeah, and we've seen it in the very real interviews we've seen with Gallows and with Anderson. A huge fan of Machine Gun Carl Anderson, but those two guys, they're naturally entertaining guys. They're naturally entertaining presences, and they just want to go out and do so. And this is to me is a indication that Gallows wants to go out and have fun, because it's a more light up persona. I mean, there's all the talk of him going up to Japan, but I think travel restrictions that they are right now, nationally, let alone internationally, it's any talk of them going over to New Japan and returning there, or some sort of Bullet Club reunion. I think that could be months off, way off.
Exactly, and that's unfortunate to a certain extent, because it's like, you know, that they if it was possible, and there was like, if this happened at any other time in the world and like in human history, they could have just made a quick transition over there and just been superstars straight away. It just would have been that easy. Hopefully, this could be a case of, if they, I know we are assuming that they are going to go there, they might not, they might go somewhere else. But if they were to do that, and it does happen at a later stage at this point, hopefully absence could make the heart grow fonder, and they could just have an even bigger pop when they return. Like, it's just such a frustrating time, because we've wanted for so long so many of these talents to be able to get back in arenas where they can really express themselves, really be these characters that we know they can be, and now they've got the chance, but they've not really got the chance. It's just it's frustrating, isn't it? Yeah, especially with someone like a tandem as talented as those two, whether it's individuals or particularly as a unit. The two were brilliant, and some people are saying that the whole Bullet Club concept needs a fresh kick of life into it, and I think this is one way to do it. Yeah, it's not necessarily something new, but I think if you reintroduce Anderson and Gallows back into that group, that puts a bit more spark back into proceedings. Or you can go so many ways with it, but we're not going to get anything for a little while, and in the meantime we're just going to have lots of wrestlers filing for certain trademarks. I mean, we've already seen the former Revival doing that with their own names, with their team names as well. So I think this is just going to be this is just another indicator of what's to come over the next few weeks and months as talents look to establish their identities outside of the WWE banner. You've still got people like Keith Slater. You've got Zack Ryder, who's been putting trademarks out there for Internet Champion, and I think there was one other name he put. So you've got people who are looking at what's next. It's just a case of when that next is here. Exactly, and we're going to have plenty more T-shirts before then too, so that'll be lovely. Plenty to buy, so go and get them on Pro Wrestling Tees. Go and check those shirts out. The last story we're going to look at today is a pretty big one. It's another what's the word? Another drop of bad news, let's say, for WWE, in what just seems to be a constant flood at this point. They've apparently, some company shareholders have filed a lawsuit against WWE. So good news keeps on coming. Heel by Nature are reporting that WWE shareholders, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm good at this. This is my trademark, really. I just destroy names. Ryan Merholz. Good try.
Sounds all right to me.
Melvin Klein, that one's a bit easier, have filed a lawsuit against WWE Chairman Vince McMahon and other executives, including Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, Stuart Goldfarb, Frank Riddick III, Manjeet Singh, Jeffrey Speed, Laureen Ong, Robin Patterson, Alan Wexler, and former co-president George Barrios. So a lot of huge figures there in the company, all being brought into this lawsuit. It's a 44-page lawsuit, and it claims that these executives and top-tier management figures took actions without the best interests of the shareholders in mind. It also alleges that WWE made false statements and failed to disclose adverse facts known to them about the company. And other legal terminology within this claims that there's been a breach in fiduciary duties, waste of corporate assets, unjust enrichment, misleading the investing public regarding WWE's business and prospects, and artificially inflating the price of WWE securities. And that is not all, Andrew. I know there's a lot of technical
There's more
coming at you. But the lawsuit further claims that WWE permitted certain senior executives of WWE to sell more than $282 million worth of their personally held shares of company stock at inflated prices. And this caused damages to the company as a result, including the initiation of a proposed class action for securities fraud against the company. A lot of information there, a lot of it, throwing it all at you. This is it just seems like another huge, notch strike against WWE at this point. It just seems like they've managed to piss off yet another, shareholder / employees, somebody within the company. And these are pretty big claims if they are true.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of technical terms, and my brief degree in business economics isn't quite transcending for me to understand this fully. But all I saw, the bit that stood out to me was the bit at the end with the $282 million of stocks. That was what that they apparently overpriced. Held shares at company stock at inflated prices, which would then have the knock-on effect of the company as a whole and finances. And if you're a public traded company now, then these things you're accountable for. It doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound good, and it's yet another. I'd say it's more than a bump in the road. I mean, there's been lots of bumps along the way, and this is yet another one. We've heard how, when we saw him on SmackDown, obviously on Friday, we've heard how that was a result of Vince McMahon just stopping caring because he's losing the plot massively with everything coming from left and right. So it's just going to lead to more crazy events, even more crazy events. It's not good. There's some major claims there,
and it's not just Vince. It's obviously you got Stephanie, Triple H, a lot of people have been grouped into this, and it's again, you're saying this might be like yet another straw that could finally break the back of Vince McMahon at this point. Yeah, but it just there seems to be no end. I feel like every other day we'll have a big story like this drop about something awful going on in WWE, another piece of controversy, and you think, oh, it can't get any worse than this, and then something else happens, and it's just, I'm not sure, like in terms of moments in time in WWE history, I cannot remember a time in WWE history where there's been this many seismic events of controversy, really, that have happened in such a small space of time, really. Like, it's great for us because we get to talk about it, but as a company, they're not getting the kind of publicity that they need right now, let's say.
No, I'd be interested to see when the full details of this comes out, or if I could be bothered to read 44 pages of a legal document to see how heavily this is tied to the
we'll do a video on it. It'd be great.
Yeah, like a read along. Yeah. Like a sing along with The Rock, but just us reading a legal paper for 44 pages. I'd be interested to see if and what ties there is with this to the XFL, because when the XFL did their bankruptcy order, it came out there were ties to WWE, even though it was always said that there was going to be no ties. And it's just there's so many bumps in the road, nails in coffins with this company, with Vince. But yeah, obviously this, like you said there, it's more than a Vince problem, this one, but it's yet another headache for him. He's got the XFL. Even, I mean, you look at the last few years and it's from one thing to another. Even if you go back to the first, when they first announced the Saudi Arabia deal, there's just so many problems, should we say, for Vince. But it comes back to how many of these problems are his own doing, really. And should he realistically have thought that this could lead to something down the road? And with this, I mean, whatever's gone on, it's yet another massive setback for the company, not just Vince, not just the McMahon family.
Yeah, and well, on that solemn note, really, that's the news that we've got here for you today. I have been Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling. You can follow me on Twitter at gmorgan04. Where can they follow you, Andrew?
Yeah, I've been Andrew Ballard from What Culture Wrestling. You can follow me at Cultured Left Peg on the Twitter machine.
Fantastic, and you can follow everyone here at What Culture Wrestling on What Culture WWE. Be sure to let us know about all the stories, not exactly the most positive stories that we could bring you on a Tuesday afternoon. But yeah, just let us know all your thoughts and feelings on these stories, and hopefully you're having the best of days that you can possibly have right now, and you're keeping safe and keeping your chins up, and hopefully we'll see you very, very soon.